ॐ वाङ् मे मनसि प्रतिष्ठिता मनो मे वाचि प्रतिष्ठितम् आविराविर्मयेधि वेदस्य आणीस्थः श्रुतं मे मा प्रहासि अनेनाधीतेनाहोरात्रान् सन्दधामि ऋतं वदिष्यामि सत्यं वदिष्यामि तन्मामवतु तद्वक्तारमवतु अवतु माम् अवतु वक्तारमवतु वक्तारम् ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः हरिः ॐ। Om, may my speech be accorded with the mind. May my mind be accorded with the speech. O self-effulgent one Brahman, reveal thyself to me. May you both, speech and mind, be the carriers of the highest truth to me. May not all that I have heard depart from me. May I be able to join day and night through this study. I shall utter what is verbally true. I shall utter what is mentally true. May that Brahman protect me. May that Brahman protect the teacher. May that protect me. May that protect the teacher. Om, peace, peace. Peace be unto you all. Good morning. This morning, I am going to speak on salvation through love. It's a very important aspect in our spiritual life. All religions of the world set one important criterion for the spiritual aspirants, and that is purification. Purification of soul and mind and body is essential for spiritual life. According to Indian philosophy, one of the main fundamentals of Indian philosophy is potential divinity of soul. Potential divinity of soul says that we are already that absolute one. We do not have to attain or acquire anything. We are that. But why don't we understand that? We cannot understand that. It is because of impurities. Because there are layers after layers on our real self, and that's why it is clouded, and that's why we cannot see it, we cannot realize it. So salvation is not possible except purification of soul. If we can remove impurities, we can realize that we are that absolute. What are the impurities? desire is the impurities. Because of desire, we cannot realize that we are that absolute. We cannot have eternal happiness and joy. We suffer for these impurities, and these impurities is desire. The expression of desire is I and mine. I and mine. We always say, we always think, we always feel, it is my, it is I. So I and mine is the expression of this desire. Prayer, worship, rituals, taking the name of God, all are the means to that purification. And the highest purification is renunciation. The word renunciation frightened many of us. But what is renunciation? Renunciation means when human soul turns back from the things of the world to within the deeper spirit. And when the human soul understands that this external world is nothing but temporary appearance, it cannot give us anything in life. By understanding this, when we turn back to our within and try to explore within, that is called renunciation. When our will is disconnected from the desire and the work, then we call it renunciation. Because will is the bondage which connects our desire with the activity. So when we can disconnect this, that is called renunciation. There are two types of people in this world. One type thinks that we are spirit and the spirit has a body. The second type of people, they think we are body, we have a spirit. The first group, they think we are spirit, we have a body. And second group, they think that we have a body, we are body, but we have a spirit. The first group, this kind of thought that we are spirit and we have a body, it leads to the enlightenment. And those people, they think that we are body, we have a spirit. They end up to the darkness and suffering. So, until purification through renunciation is taken place, a person's religious life is clouded heavily by materialistic demand. Renunciation is involved in all yogas. We know there are 4 yogas. So renunciation is involved in 4 yogas. In Karma Yoga, one has to give up the fruits of action. In Jnana Yoga, from the beginning, one has to give up the concept that world is real. From the beginning, they would think that world is nothing but a temporary appearance. In Raja Yoga, one has to renounce or give up the idea of nature. By deep meditation, they would understand that there are 2 things, one is nature and one is spirit. So they have to renounce the nature and they have to accept the spirit. So these are the nature of renunciation in different yogas. But in Bhakti Yoga, the renunciation is little bit different. Why it is little bit different? Because it is effortless and natural. To renounce, we must have some kind of effort. We have to exert some kind of effort. In Karma Yoga, in Jnana Yoga, and in Raja Yoga, you can find we have to struggle to renounce these concepts. The concept of fruits of our action, the concept of this world is mere appearance, or the concept of nature and spirit. We have to realize that and we have to renounce one. But in Bhakti Yoga, it is smooth, it is natural, and it is effortless. The interesting part in Bhakti is that a person gives up a previous object of love when something new, more attractive, begins to draw his or her mind. Swamiji gave this example. A man begins to love a woman. After a while, he feels love on another woman. And the first woman, he lets go. The first woman drops out of his mind smoothly, gently, without his feeling. Similarly, a woman loves a man, she then begins to love another man, and the first one drops off from her mind quietly, naturally. A man loves his own city, then he begins to love his country. And then the intense love of his little city drops smoothly. When we love one thing and then we love another thing more intensely, the first one drops smoothly, automatically. And again, the man starts loving the whole world, and his love for country would drop naturally. The principle is this: if you love something higher than what you are loving now, then the lower or the present love goes. It is natural for man to give up previous object of love when something new and more attractive begins to draw his or her mind. No effort of giving up is required. It is spontaneous and natural. Now, the object of love easily overpowers the previous object of love because the new love is found more delightful and the old one by the mind drops out. So this is the nature. So if we love some higher, the lower love will go. It is quite natural. We love our body. We have a childhood. And when we will grow and become youth, we love youth, not the childhood. So, when we love the higher thing, the lower will go automatically. When we love one thing, and after that the second thing will overpower the first thing. And it is automatical, it is smooth, gentle, no effort is required. Animal or any enlightened person loves the pleasure of sense intensely. As the person becomes enlightened, he or she begins to love intellectual pleasure, and his or her sense enjoyments becomes lesser and lesser. In this sense, the renunciation of a devotee is comparable with evolution. So as you are evolving and fell in love with higher and higher object, the lower object is falling apart. So it is a kind of evolution. As the object of love is going higher and higher, the object of lower is going far away. Bhakti is the science of higher love. Love is highest, and everything low naturally falls off. Another point is divine grace. Divine grace loosens the bindings and the bolts and bars of our soul and becomes free. Thus, renunciation is auxiliary to devotion or bhakti. There is no harshness, no dryness, no struggle, no repression, no suppression. In bhakti, intensify love and renunciation will come automatically. If a sheep by chance comes very closer to a huge magnetic mountain, what will happen? The iron, the bolts, the bars of that sheep will be attracted by that huge magnetic mountain, and the planks get loosened and freely float on the water. divine grace thus loosen our bindings of soul, and then soul becomes free. How to develop bhakti? Common people cannot develop bhakti automatically, and purification is required. So what I am going to speak in this morning is purification. And when we will have this purification, automatically bhakti will come up. So on the other hand, if we love, if we develop bhakti, renunciation automatically takes place. In other yoga, we have to give effort for the renunciation, and then we will attain the goal. But in bhakti, if we develop love or bhakti, automatically renunciation begins. So the point is, in bhakti, we do not have to give any effort, only to love bhakti. But Narada, he cited 8 points for common people. Common people, they cannot develop bhakti instantly. So for them, Narada gives 8 points how to develop bhakti. The first one is give up sense object. Give up sense object. If love is the main thing, and there is no category of love, if love, we have to increase our love, then why don't we love all pleasurable and attractive things of the world? That is also love. If we love all pleasurable and attractive things of the world, that is also love. But we must not love the worldly things. Why? Because object of love must be the higher and higher object. What is the highest object of love? God is the highest object of love. So more we go higher and higher, the lower will fall apart. Lower will drop. So, the highest object of love is God. We should love God. Everything is the manifestation of God. Thirst after the beautiful should be directed to God. We have to direct all our desire, all our attraction towards God. Sri Ramakrishna used to say, Mod firiye dao. Direct it towards the God. Change the direction. What is the beauty in the human face? What is the glitter in the diamond? It is only the partial appearance of the divine beauty of the Supreme. Everything what is good and best we see everywhere in this world is nothing but the partial appearance, partial manifestation of the beauty of God. Sri Ramakrishna used to say, whenever you see anything good in any human being or anybody else or anything, know it for sure that is the manifestation of the divine beauty of God. So in this way, we have to change the direction towards God. It is though His light, that is all thing shines. He is shining, everything shines, says Upanishad. Tasya bhasha sarvamidam vibhati. So when He shines, everything shines. So everything is His light. Everything is His beauty. Take this high position of bhakti, which makes you forget at once all your little personalities. Thirst after beautiful should be directed to God. Don't suppress any emotion. Strive to intensify it and direct it to God. This is another beauty in bhakti. In all other yogas, you have to suppress, you have to control, you have to manage your emotion, your feelings. But in bhakti, you do not have to suppress or do not have to control or manage your feelings or emotion. Try to intensify it, on the other hand, and direct it to God. Not only physical renunciation, but also mental renunciation. Give up the object, not physically, but mentally also. According to Swami Turiyanandaji, what is religion? Turiyanandaji answered, keeping our mind and mouth on the same point is called religion. In Sri Ramakrishna's word, mon mukh ek kora. Keeping our mind and our words at the same point, that is called religion. So we renounce things externally, but our mind is trying to get that. That is not religion. That is not give up the sense objects. Then second, give up evil company. This is another important thing. We have to give up the evil company. Sri Ramakrishna used to say that when the plant is tiny, we have to put fence surrounding it. Every object, person, event, places that stimulates lower passions must carefully be shunned. Moreover, evil company influences us to rise our ripples into waves. We are human beings. We have evil thoughts, tiny little thought we have, everybody. And these are the tiny samaskaras. These ripples, when influenced by the evil people, evil company, these ripples will become wave. So it is very important, at least in the beginning of our spiritual life, to avoid evil company. If we are not strong in morality, evil people or evil thought disturb us. If one strives sincerely to be good, even the evil people would help them, they will never create trouble. So if we sincerely try to be good, then evil people also sometimes they help us to be good. But we need that moral courage. But before that, we must avoid the evil company. Evil company means which is destroying my spiritual life, which is the bar of my spiritual life. That is evil company. Give up egoism. One should give up pride, vanity, etc. Ego is the flavor. It is one of the basic things without which life itself is impossible. We have to understand the ego mechanism. We must have ego. It is our essence. Without ego, we cannot live. So ego is the essence. Ego is the flavor of our soul. We must have ego. It has come from Prakriti, means it falls in the category of Prakriti. So ego is Prakriti. It is the inborn, innate nature. This ego is one of our personalities. Around this, all our emotions, impulses are formed. Ego will remain with us till Nirvikalpa Samadhi. Sri Ramakrishna gave the example. The coconut tree, when the ripe leaves of coconut tree fall down, they fall down, but they leave mark on the stem of the coconut tree. So ego only we can remove after Nirvikalpa Samadhi. Ego will stay with us. But along with ego, so many things develop. This ego is what is meant by Jivatman. In Sanskrit, it is called Pratyagatman. Ego is the identification. Egoism is the identification of the ego with the object. When ego is identified with external object, that is the bad thing. Ego itself is not the bad thing. But when ego is identified with the object, external object, that is called egoism or egotism. That is bad. We have to remove egoism or egotism. I and mine. This is what our emotions, impulses, drive, etc. When we go on with those, it becomes a habit. So awakening of ego means ego is to be aware of the great goal to be attained, and for that conscious effort is necessary. When this does not take place, we feel lonely. To encounter our own self, to meet our own self, is what is meant by awakening of ego. When ego will become aware of our goal, of our real nature, and it will say that go for that, strive for that. That is called ego awakening. Give up argument. One must not argue on one's spiritual life. Argument means, in Sanskrit it is called viparita bhavana, opposite view. And vikshepa sravana, some hard hearing. So if you hear some adverse criticism of your spiritual life, avoid it. Don't argue. In the beginning, don't argue about your spiritual life. Spiritual life is your own. It is not the subject matter of argument. Shankaracharya says, Sutrano Gohita Tarka, reasoning must be based on Shruti. For reasoning, fundamental ideas must be clear. Secondly, the framework must be there with whom comparison can be made by which life should be built up. If you argue with yourself about your spiritual life. Don't argue with others. The fifth point is not to think lust and wealth. Lust and gold is extremely bad, said Sri Ramakrishna. To avoid it, Pratipaksha Bhavana is required. We have already mentioned all thoughts must be directed towards God. Lust is 8 types. Hearing any topic of lust is also lust. Discussion of lust is another. Talking with someone with the attitude of lust, that is also lust. Keeping with us something which instigates lust, that is also bad thing. That something that instigates us towards lust is bad. Talking with someone with the attitude of lust is bad. Discussion secretly regarding lust is also bad. Looking someone with the attitude of lust is bad. Touching someone with lust is bad. Mixing intimately with the attitude of lust is also bad. So there are 8 types of lust. It is not that if we directly involved in lust, that is only lust. Hearing, reading, watching, all these are lust. These are 8 types of lust. So we must avoid lust and gold. Because gold or wealth, it tempts us. It is not favorable for our spiritual life, for renunciation, for purification. Because we are in the process of purification. We are talking about the purification. In bhakti, if we love God, it is the hindrance of love of God. 6th point, not to think evil of the world. So many troubles are there in the world. We cannot stop it or solve it. We can only pray. Our intense prayer can help others. There are many people, they can solve the problem of the world. The spiritual aspirant, they can, especially in the path of bhakti, they can only pray. The prayer has a tremendous potentiality. So they can only pray, and the things must be changed. Give up the fruits of work, but not the work. You know, in Bhagavad Gita also we have learned this lesson. Give up the fruits of our work, but not the work. It is not enough to give up the fruits of work, but positively we must do what is conducive to cultivate bhakti. Social service we should do because it will bring purity. Good work must be done consciously and positively. It is not only give up the fruits of work, but we should do that kind of work which enhance our love of God. That work only we should do. Next important point is do not waste time. It is very, very important aspect in spiritual life. Actually, Swami Brahmananda Ji, in his book Eternal Companion, he emphasized on this point. Time must not be wasted. Procrastination, emotion, etc. take our most of the time and energy. So set an ideal and then awaken to that ideal. In our last Sunday, I have mentioned that how we can develop ideal within. Ideal is a concept, but sometimes we cannot internalize the concept. So ideal means two things. One, the concept, the principle. The second thing is that the person who practiced this principle and concept, he or she is also an ideal. So ideal is principle and person who practiced those ideal. These both are ideal. So it is easier for us to internalize a person as an ideal. We follow, we think, we will become one with that person which is ideal. And if we can develop that ideal within, then we can communicate. The ideal is the source of our inspiration, is the source of courage, is the source of spirit. So we have to awaken this ideal. We have to choose one ideal first, and then we have to awaken that ideal. 3 awakening must take place one after another. We have to awaken 3 things in our spiritual life. Number 1, awakening to the ideal. This is the first step. We have to choose one ideal, and then we have to awakening to the ideal. Mainly awakening to the ideal is unconscious activity, sometimes sudden, sometimes gradual. If we can wholeheartedly follow and internalize an ideal, preferably some human form, the result is goal orientation. If we can awaken the ideal within, we can get inspiration. One pointed goal we can see, and we will be oriented towards that. So this is the result of awakening of ideal. Second is ego awakening. I have already mentioned about ego awakening. The conscious process, ego awakening is the conscious process. We can practice it, produced by directly encounter with one's ego. So we can interact with our ego, we think it, we understand it, and we can change it. The result is life becomes inner directed and self-directed, instead of guided by other people or other ideas. So we will not be blown by any other external ideas or influence if our ego is awakened. It is a conscious process. We have to interact with ego. Then third is spiritual awakening. partly conscious, partly superconscious process. Result is the glimpse of transcendental awareness. Life becomes guided by inner self and inner controller. So that is the spiritual awakening. So these three awakening, we must have one after another in spiritual life, and we have to work on it. So Narada, he actually gave these 8 methods for the purification and to develop love. In general, love and renunciation go hand in hand. If one loves anyone unconsciously, he renounces and sacrifices those things which prevents his progress. Thus, more we advance towards east, the more west remains behind, says Sri Ramakrishna. So if we develop love, all other things will fall apart. Similarly, if we march towards our highest ideal, lower goes. When one evolves and merges into higher, the lower vanishes forever. Childhood vanishes when youth appear. The highest love is the love for God. Another significant point in love is that love unites. The same love manifests in different ways. It is same emotion that gives us pure and holy conjugal love between husband and wife, as well as that sort of love which goes to satisfy the lowest form of animal passion. Through love, we can realize God. And again, the same love towards wealth can kill a person. Love, the intense longing for association, the strong desire on the part of two become one. And it may be, after all, of all to become merged into one, is being manifested everywhere in higher and lower forms as the case may be. The love is same, but it manifested in different degrees, in different levels. Bhakti is the science of highest love. The same love sometimes manifested as killing. Swami Vivekananda gave one example. A dog, it eats food, it loves food, it eats food in such an intensity, in such an gusto. Human beings do not eat with same intensity, with same gusto. Why? Because human beings love to the higher object. So same love manifests in different degrees. And bhakti is the highest form of love. It shows us how to direct love, how to control it, how to manage it, how to use it, how to give it a new aim, as it were, and from it obtain the highest and most glorious result. That is, how to make it lead us spiritual blessedness. Bhakti Yoga does not say give up, it says love. Love for the highest. What is required in yoga is that our quest after beautiful should be directed towards God. Only embrace God and God alone. Pour extreme love that you have at the feet of the Lord and become one with God. And you will see that millions and millions of channels in which God is manifesting Himself as love. In bhakti, God, love, and grace, three vital channels. Any one of these three can lead us to God realization. Although mukti is not there in bhakti, but bhakti allows us to be one with God. So the love unites, but one thing we have to keep in mind, that love had different manifestation. I have already mentioned that with love, someone kills a person, but with love, someone realizes God. So the same love, different manifestation. Bhakti is the highest form of love. And God is the highest kind of object of love. So, renunciation and love is just the opposite side of a same coin in bhakti. So if we love God, automatically renunciation will come and we will be one with God. And that is salvation. The salvation and mukti, it is not there in bhakti. In bhakti, there are 5 types of living with God, become one with God. What are the 5 ways we can live with God? That is liberation, that is mukti in bhakti scripture. That is shalokya. In the same place you can live with God. That is considered as liberation. This is the one. There are 5. Second is samipya. In close proximity you can live with God. Sarupya, you can have the similar form with God, just like God. Sayujya, completely merge with God. And Swasti, attaining same grandeur like those of Supreme God. So these are 5 types of association with God, and these are considered the mukti or liberation in bhakti scripture. So purification is required. The purification means we do not have, it is natural and gentle and smooth, because if we can develop love, that's all in bhakti scripture. And love is same to everywhere. Only the manifestation of love is different in degrees. The same love, the same feeling, the same emotion, but the manifestation, it differs. The object of love differs. More the object of love is higher, the more we will be peaceful. The highest object of love is God, and the highest manifestation of love is bhakti. So if we follow this path, we will be purified automatically, and we will have the salvation, which is becoming one with God. ॐ सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः, सर्वे सन्तु निरामया, सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु, मा कश्चित् दुःखमाप्नुयात्, सर्वस्तरोतु दुर्गानि, सर्वो भद्राणि पश्यतु, सर्वसद्बुद्धिमाप्नोतु, सर्वत्र नन्दतु, दुर्जनः सज्जनो भूयात्, सज्जनः शान्तिमाप्नुयात्, शान्तमुच्येत्य बन्धेभ्यो, मुक्तश्चान्यान् विमोचयेत्. May all be happy. May all enjoy good health. May all see happy events. May all be freed from miseries. May all be freed from dangers. May all realize what is good. May all be actuated by noble thoughts. May all rejoice everywhere. May the wicked become virtuous. May the virtuous attain tranquility. May the tranquil be free from bondages. May the freed make others free. May the Supreme Spirit, the presiding deity of all sacred activities, be satisfied. For he being pleased, the whole universe feels satisfied. Peace, peace. Peace be unto you all. Next Sunday, January 31st, at 11 a.m., we have a talk virtually through online live streaming. The title of the lecture is Theft in the Sanctum of the Heart. Theft in the Sanctum of the Heart. Swami Prasannatmananda will be delivering the lecture. Thank you. Please take care to stay safe.